Well, good morning. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Afternoon? Afternoon. I want to thank you all for being here this afternoon. Last night, our city council meeting went late into the evening. I think things wrapped up till about, 11 o'clock, I believe. And a number of our legislative proposals that have been priorities of the administration were approved by the city council in our effort to run through the tape. 49 days left in our administration, and I'm going to provide a little commentary on some of those proposals this afternoon, and then I'll take a few questions from the media. First, I'm glad that City Council voted to keep the real estate tax rate level at $1.20. And as you all know, that we had already recently seen a robust discussion about the real estate tax rate, and there were several proposals being considered by the Richmond City Council. Look, I know that there are folks out there in our community, in the Commonwealth, and across our country who are still struggling, trying to find their footing post the COVID-19 pandemic. And we've seen the cost of living rise here in the city of Richmond as well. Richmond is now, the average rent here in Richmond is now roughly $1,500 per month. And according to the 2023 American Community Survey, over a quarter of Richmond renters, or approximately 43,000 renters, are spending more than half of their income on housing. And nearly twice that are spending 30% of their annual income on rent. It is also expensive to own a home here in Richmond as well. As a homeowner, I've seen that the average residential assessment in 2023 was about $340,000. So my commitment to Richmonders has always been that we will work to find ways that you can keep a roof over your head and keep food on the table. And that's why I'm thrilled that last night the Richmond City Council approved of the RVA Stay program. This is and also they approved of the one-time 4-cent tax rebate that will impact the pocketbooks and the wallets of many of the residents here in the city of Richmond. Now, these targeted proposals are how we provide fiscally responsible, targeted relief to those who need it the most, and an across-the-board one-time rebate for all Richmond property owners as well. It goes without saying, we want Richmonders to stay in Richmond, and this is our way of reducing those housing-related costs that they might be experiencing. The GAP grants and the Richmond Freeze programs are just a few tools in our toolbox to help some of our residents. So overall, GAP grants will provide both renters and homeowners more relief, and we hope this will be an annual permanent program that we can build on moving forward. Remember, these are programs that are utilized in other localities across the Commonwealth, and I'm grateful to the team here at City Hall, led by Chief Administrative Officer Lincoln Saunders, who were very innovative and creative in finding some solutions to our ongoing housing crisis right here in the city. Now, I'm a big believer that we have to continue to use subsidy to invest in more affordable options here in the city. We have to use subsidy also to put some relief in the hands of our renters and our residents. But also we must take on the zoning side of this moving forward as well. This is an interesting discussion, I know, that our next mayor and the next administration will be having about how do we go about creating more production in that missing middle here in Richmond as well. Many localities across the Commonwealth and the country are tackling this issue. I'm a big believer in more supply, more homes, more opportunities for our residents that will bring down the cost of living, particularly their housing costs, right here in the city of Richmond. Let me switch gears And in my State of the City address nearly 3 years ago, I stated that Richmond is no longer the capital of the Confederacy, but that we are now the capital of compassion. And I firmly believe that in order to acknowledge that we cannot move forward without confronting the complexity of our history head on, and we cannot move forward by suppressing the injustices that have occurred in our city. You know that Richmond has been a part of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And over the course of the last 8 years, we have certainly gone head on into what we believe is an ugly past that should not stain our future. And that's why we removed the most Confederate monuments and the most amounts of iconography of the Confederacy in the entire United States. There has not been a locality in this country that has done the work to turn the page on the Confederacy than the city of Richmond. No city in the United States. And so it has been very important to us that we tell the entire story, particularly the story of those enslaved and freed folk who built this city. Now, last night, Richmond took another step. We took a step forward in telling the story of our city, and the city council approved my recommendation through ordinance to reestablish the Shako Hill African Burying Ground. So I would like to thank the city council for their support of this effort. And again, this is just another step. And we understand there's more work to be done to give honor to the land in a just way. This historic district is a mix of city, privately owned land, and our Department of Planning, Department of Review will be surveying the remaining city-owned parcels to ensure that we are documenting everything within our purview. In addition, for the last several months, you all know the city of Richmond has been corresponding with Lamar Advertising, requesting they remove the billboard built on top of the Shako Hill African Burying Ground. In response, Lamar requested the city of Richmond give them 12 billboard faces, 5 of them digital, and 6 at locations around the city. And this not only is excessive, I personally believe it's flat out disgusting. And as Lamar is aware, the Shako Hill African Burying Ground holds profound historical and cultural significance as one of the largest sites in the entire United States for the burial of free and enslaved African Americans from 1816 to 1879. And as I've stated before, since 1879, this site has been under assault. Under assault. Now, our preference has been made very clear. We wish that Lamar voluntarily extinguish the easement on the cemetery, which will allow the souls that are buried beneath to have a full rest finally. It seems to me that profit is at the forefront of Lamar's intentions in this situation. However, I would like to express that our land shouldn't have to be up for auction to do the right thing, which the city has already done. As its saying goes by Maya Angelou, once you know better, do better. We all know better, and that's why the city is doing better, and I'm hoping that Lamar will follow the city's lead. And with that, I'll take some questions.
Grant, on the billboard issue, Lamar has now said that they are only asking for a one-to-one replacement for the billboard. They just want you all to provide them with one new billboard in exchange for that one. Why has the city been unable to come to an agreement with them on that? And do you have any intention of continuing to talk to them about finding an acceptable new billboard?
Well, from what I've seen, and Graham, the question was about the billboard and Lamar's statements on the billboard recently. Lamar, what I've seen from my perspective is Lamar's statement has also contradicted where they were just a year prior. Obviously our staff does a full review of what legally can be done or what can be done with the approval of the city council. And we have offered opportunities, Lamar, and Lamar hasn't always accepted those opportunities. And so moving forward, I think the right thing to do is just to give it up. But instead, we're in this ongoing negotiation over a place where thousands of souls are buried. I really can't fathom where in the entire world this is happening. But this is happening in City of Richmond that has unfortunately been scarred by this sort of injustice in the past. And so I will reiterate what I just stated, and that is I'm asking for Lamar to do the right thing. The city has. They're the ones who haven't.
And that means give it up on their own without asking the city to do anything in return.
As if I'm not recommending that is not the right thing to do. I think it is.
All right. Senator?
The RBA state program initially contained language requiring financial planning and literacy courses for applicants. I know several council members expressed some concern about that. Do you guys plan to maintain those requirements?
The question is about RVA stay and the requirements that were initially proposed. Those requirements will not be maintained moving forward.
Maddie? Yeah, you good? Okay, right here.
So what's the change then with the requirements to get approval for an RVA? Like, if that's not, if this requirements aren't the same as what they were before, what are they now?
I think it still has to do with the amount of your income that you have that you spend on an annual basis on housing costs. So that will still remain as a parameter to access, but it no longer you will need to take a financial literacy course or I forgot what the other piece of the workforce requirement.
Yeah, Graham?
On the pending acquisition of Philip Morris, former Philip Morris Operations
Yep.
Center, it sounded like the administration was saying last night that the city buying that gives you more control over what goes there. That there was some concern that it might just be a warehouse. We maybe don't want that. What do you see as like a good use for that site? And why would it be bad for the city if some private company just bought that land on their own and built a warehouse without the city having to spend any money?
Well, the question was about the Altria site, and last night the city council gave approval to the city to purchase that site. I believe $5.5 million. This is the former tract of land where the Urban One casino opportunities were slated. Here's the thing: there's nothing. Looking back at my 8 years in local government and land use, it's always better when the city gets to control the site for development, because someone can buy a piece of land and then by right they can do whatever they want with the land. At least we can provide some requirements on what we want to see and what the community wants to see as well. For the last 8 years, I've gone to bat for Southside because I'm a big believer that those who live in Southside deserve the same thing that those who live north of the river are provided. And we have tried and tried again, and we've struck out in some cases, but you're seeing more and more investment come to South Richmond, some more government spending and public spending coming to South Richmond. We want to attract more private sector investment as well. We are big believers that the site should be a place where people can be employed, not just the construction of the project, but for long-term career employment. And if you take north of the river out of the city, everything north of the James, and it was simply just south side, you would see that the poverty rate, the unemployment would mirror areas like Petersburg. So in order to do right by those who reside there, I think attracting an employer should be a top priority. Also, there's potential for it to be a place where people can reside and live as well, affordably. And so there's so many opportunities that lie ahead for the city on this tract of land. And it's my hope that when we begin the process, that we engage the community, engage those who live in the 8th District and the 9th District, because at the end of the day, it's my hope that it will be those residents who live in those neighborhoods, whether it's Oak Grove or off of the Richmond Highway, that will have access to opportunities there.
Do you know when that site is scheduled to, that purchase is scheduled to close, or what the next steps are?
I do not have the answer on that, on when that site will be closed in terms of closing on the purchase, but I'm sure our team over at Economic Development can get you those.
Speaking of Altria, what's your take on the VCU Health plan to purchase the property here in downtown?
The question was, what's my take on VCU's efforts to purchase the research center? Well, here's the thing. You know already that Richmond has more tax-exempt land than many localities here in the Commonwealth. And every time you take a wealthy, valuable piece of land off the tax rolls, that's essentially a cut to the budget. And there's millions of dollars at stake if this were to be resort to a non-taxable, tax-exempt piece of property, which means that the city would have to balance the budget by cutting services and expenditures. I have a problem with that. I'll be very clear with that. I have a problem with that. And especially since VCU refuses to pay or to live up to their obligation on the public safety building. It's problematic for me. So on one hand, you decided to shortchange the residents of the city by not fulfilling your obligation on the public safety building. And then on the other hand, you take the Altria Research Center off the tax rolls, costing the city multiple millions of dollars. That's a double whammy for the residents of the city. We here support VCU. VCU has led the way in terms of the rebirth of this city. However, there needs to be a real discussion about their purchasing of land, of tracts of land that don't add to the tax rolls of the city. And also, it's my hope that we can come to some resolution on the agreement that they made on the public safety building.
Last question.
Thank you. I just want to about the City Hall performance review.
Yep.
Was there any concern that the results decision to only survey directors and not lower-level employees would impact the accuracy of the study?
The question about the performance review that was conducted, as you all know, that I conducted a performance review in the first 100 days of my administration back in 2017, and I thought it would be apropos that we conduct a review of that performance review in the final 100 days of my administration. Mr. Burke and Ms. Pierce, I think, stated in their own words that the directors and those in the hierarchy of city government were pretty forthcoming about where they stood on the recommendations that they made back in 2017. And from my read of their report, there was a lot of progress made between 2017 and 2024, but we didn't do everything. And I think that's an honest assessment of where the city stands today, 49 days from the next administration. A lot of progress has been made, department by department, but not everything was complete. And so I'm grateful for the work of Mr. Burke and Ms. Pierce, and also for the directors and the agency heads, those at the hierarchy of this government, who were very forthcoming about their progress. Like I said during the report's presentation, the city is faring well compared to where it was a decade ago. And we all, the taxpayers, the employees, we should all be proud of that, because there are governments in certain localities that don't make this type of progress.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate y'all.
What'd you say? Oh, were you here?